Good afternoon, everybody. You know, for a long time, I've been wanting to explain the RICO Act. I was charged under the RICO Act on a Colombo crime family indictment in 2008. I never expected it, okay? There were 14 of us on that Colombo crime family indictment. And all you need is two predicate acts, and I'll get to two predicate acts. That's all you need to be indicted on a RICO Act. Now, people have been writing me and asking me, and then yesterday I heard it from a lawyer. Yeah, from a lawyer who I got a lot of respect for and a lot of love for him because he does a lot of great things political wise. He loves Trump, loves everything Trump is doing. But I saw him being interviewed by a friend of mine in London, and he says he can't understand why there's no co-defendants. He says you got to have co-defendants in a RICO Act. And he doesn't understand. He said, no, you can't have one person indicted. Yes, folks, you could have one person can be indicted on RICO in federal court. The Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Act allows prosecutors to charge anyone who participates in a pattern of criminal activity as part of a criminal enterprise. And that's what Diddy did. And yes, so far, he's the only one being indicted. There will be more, I'm sure, and there'll probably be unindicted co-conspiracy because I believe the other ones are probably already informing. Now, who wrote the RICO Act? All right? It was written by a professor of law at the University of Notre Dame named G. Robert Blakely. Yeah, go ahead, you can search this yourself. Guess who he wrote it with? All right? Who he drafted it with? Joe Biden. Yeah. You're Joe Biden. The guy who wrote the worst crime bill in history after that. He's been against everything crime that you could imagine. But yet, he's against the death sentence, so he pardons all these inmates on death row. You had no problem with that, but you had a problem because Donald Trump pardoned all those people from January 6th for ridiculous charges. Come on, let's face it, folks. I know what ridiculous charges are. So, bear with that, okay? RICO is a federal law that was enacted in 1970 to combat organized crime. It was signed into law by Richard Nixon. Now, I remember when I was charged, I was trying to figure out what the fuck is this law? And I was studying in a library and trying to get my hands on everything I could because even lawyers that I interviewed, they weren't sure about it. Except they said it's very tough to beat, and it is. Okay? Very few people beat RICO charges. RICO charges can be brought against anyone who participates in a pattern of criminal activity. That's what Diddy did. It was a pattern. It was human trafficking. Bringing people across the border makes it a federal crime, not a state crime, to my friend, the prosecuting lawyer who was on that show yesterday. They can be brought against individuals who commit at least 2 acts of racketeering activity within a period of 10 years. So they went back to what on Diddy? 2020? That's within 10 years, folks. So yes, you could be indicted on RICO charges. To charge the defendant with a federal racketeering influence or corrupt organization violation, the government must prove the following. Enterprise. The government must prove that a criminal enterprise existed. They did that in the Diddy case. Interstate commerce. The government must prove that the enterprise activities affected interstate commerce. That means that the activity crossed state lines. That's what Diddy's case did. Connection to the enterprise. The government must prove that the defendant was associated with the enterprise, either as an employee or through some other connection. They proved that Diddy was. A pattern of racketeering. Okay? They must prove a pattern of it over 10 years. Once again, the U.S. government has already done that in the Diddy case. The government must prove that the defendant participated in the enterprise's activity through their pattern of racketeering. RICO charges can have serious consequences, including prison time and large fine. The government can also attach assets to prevent the defendant from hiding them before a judgment. So right now, they can't attach Diddy's assets. But he goes to court and he's found guilty. They can attach his assets at that time. And that's how all these people in these civil lawsuits hopefully will get their money. Hopefully. RICO applies to state courts, so both the federal government and the state can charge the same person for violating their respective RICO statutes. Okay? So, can New York State, can California, can Florida come afterwards and charge Diddy? Yes, they can if they want to for the same exact charges, and that's not double jeopardy. So folks, I hope this explains it to you in a more fashionable way. As usual, I'm going to keep trying to give you content that you can learn from. I know it's 8 minutes long and most people won't listen to 30 seconds because that's the mindset of the people in our country today. And you know what? You notice I didn't even show you my book, but it's behind me, folks. You want to buy my book, learn about my RICO Act, I have my paperwork in the back of my book. So you could read about my indictment.